Hey, this is Brian with ActiveMelody.com. In this week's guitar lesson, we're going to take a look at this original bluesy composition. There's a little bit of ragtime in there as well. So one of the things we're going to be learning in this lesson is chord embellishments. We're going to take a simple major chord and we're going to add some notes to it to just embellish it and make it sound better. And it's very easy to do, and what's nice about this is you'll be able to do it for this composition, but you'll also be able to apply this to your own playing so that if you're improvising or writing your own music, you'll start to use some of these embellishments in your own stuff. The other thing we're going to be focusing on is hybrid picking, where you use the pick and then you use your fingers at the same time. If you've tried this in the past and maybe been frustrated with it, or maybe you've never tried it at all, this would be a great lesson to jump in with hybrid picking, because I'm going to break it down and try to simplify it as best I can. And you'll find that it's really not that difficult once you start doing it. So I think the big takeaway in a lesson like this is that you have a standalone composition that you can play. So if somebody ever hands you a guitar and says, hey, play something, you've got something to play, and it sounds really good on its own. You don't need a jam track or any of that stuff. Just a nice little composition that works. So I've got this lesson split into two parts. In this video, we're going to take a look at the first half. If you'd like to watch the second half, as well as download the tablature and the on-screen tab viewer, you can get all of that at ActiveMelody.com. Just go to the lessons page and do a search for EP204. That's a lesson number for this lesson. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so this is a simple little composition that I came up with yesterday, just sitting out on the deck. It uses 5 chords. There's no fancy jazz chords or anything, just very basic chords. I'm going to walk through the chord changes right now so that we understand that. And then by the end of this video, you should be able to take some standard basic chords and embellish them, and even play some lead licks in between them like I'm going to show you in this video. And then you'll be able to write your own compositions like this, and you'll find that it's really not that hard to do. So let's talk through the structure. We start with the 1 chord, which is an A chord. This is just an A major bar chord. I'm barring here on the 5th fret. These 3 fingers make the E chord shape. So that's an A chord, the 1. Then we slide down to an A flat. So everything just slides down 1 set of frets. Then we go back to the 1 chord. So you got your 1, that would be the, the flat, everything down a half step, and then back to the 1. Then we go to the 6th chord, but it's not normally the 6th chord would be a minor chord, but we're going to play a dominant 7 chord, or make the 6th chord major. And so in this case, it's an F sharp 7, or F sharp dominant 7. So that's what the 6th chord would be in this case. Then we go to the 2 chord, which is just a minor chord, a B minor. And then to the 5 chord, which is an E, E7, and then back to the 1. Those are the chords. Now if I were to strum it, just playing the chords, it would sound like this. And back to the 1. Pretty basic, right? So that's kind of boring on its own. So now let's make it interesting. So here's what we're going to start with. We're going to start with this hybrid picking technique. So you're going to hold the pick between your thumb and your index finger, and then you're going to use your ring finger and your middle finger to pluck some of the strings. So you don't need to make the full bar chord. All you really need are the top 4 strings. So to do that, we're just going to bar the first 2 strings here on the 5th fret. Middle finger goes down on the 6th fret 3rd string, ring finger down on the 7th fret 4th string. And now we're going to hybrid pick. So make sure you're holding your pick between your thumb and your index finger, and you've got your ring finger and middle finger free. And those are going to be your plucking fingers. This is going to be your picking finger. So we're going to start by picking on the 4th string and plucking on the 1st string, both at the same time like this. If you can do that, you can hybrid pick. It's really that easy. So once you've got that, then we're going to play middle finger on 2 and then pick on 3. So all together we have... Now watch this. We're going to do ring finger on 1, pick on 4, middle finger on 2, and then pick on 3 again. So you've got a staggered effect the second time through. It syncs up. The very first note is in sync. Everything else is staggered. And here's what I mean. I'm going to play through it slowly. So just try doing that. That's going to be your first mission, is to get that hybrid picking technique down. And you can see what's happening with the bass. The pick is actually doing this. If you listen to that. Hear it? Okay, now what's nice about this is we just take this chord shape, slide it down, everything down 1 fret. So in essence, everything that I do to this chord, I can do here. And you'll see that the second time through. That's going to be in the next video. But there's another embellishment that's a little change on that. And then I just apply it here and apply it there. So that's one kind of a cool effect. So that's something to think about if you're improvising or writing your own stuff. Just take that one chord, whatever your first chord is, and then go down a half step and then back. You can do a lot with just that. Okay. Now we come back up into the first position that we started with for the one chord, and then I played. Now for this, I'm just going just the way that I started the first time, 1 and 4 at the same time. Middle finger goes ahead and plucks the second string, and then I did this. Notice I'm keeping the shape down with these fingers. I've got my pinky free though, so I can do this hammer-on to the 7th fret 2nd string. So that's going between the 5th fret, which is already barred there, and the 7th fret. So you get that effect. It's kind of a country thing, but it also works in something slow and melodic like this. And I'm doing that with the pick, by the way. And then I play the 3rd string. Okay? Then we come to that F sharp 7 chord, and I play. Now this is exactly the same technique that we started the one chord with. The only difference is we're going to be doing strings 2 and 5 now. So we're going to pluck with our ring finger on the 2nd string. We're going to pick on the 5th string, and then we're going to do the same little staggered technique like we did with the first chord. You can hear how the pick is playing the bass, just like that. Okay, let me back up from the start now, and let's cover that up to that point. Isn't that nice? Just, it's simple, you know, you're just taking these chords and you're starting to pick notes out of them instead of just doing that. You know, it gives you a little more more of an interesting sound. And then we come to the B minor chord. Now you don't need to make that full chord. All you need are the top 4 strings out of it, and that frees up your pinky to do some of these embellishments. So let's make the chord by barring the first 3 strings on the 7th fret, and then our ring finger on the 9th fret 4th string. And that's another way to make a B minor chord without having to use all 6 strings. So we're going to use the same picking pattern that we started with. So it's going to be the pick on the 4th string, a ring finger plucking on the 1st string at the same time, middle finger on string 2, pick on string 3. So we have. Now the next thing I do is I take my pinky, which is free, and I put it down on the 9th fret 1st string to play that note. So you have. Isn't that a nice sound? It creates a nice tension. And you know, when I think of embellishing around a minor chord using this chord shape, I look at what I can do with my pinky. Look, you can put it down there on the, and that would create a, I guess that's a B minor add 9 chord. So that's what that chord would be. So you can do a lot just with that. You can even slide it up 1 more fret to the 10th fret and walk it down that way. Now you can also come down to the 2nd string and play on the 10th fret. And that's just keeping that bar or that chord shape the whole time. Just the only thing you're manipulating is your pinky. And then you've got on the 3rd string, you've got the 9th fret. So you have, and you can do a lot just playing around with that. Try that with another minor chord. You just pick any minor chord and look at what you can do from an embellishment standpoint just with your pinky. Now the same holds true on that major chord, the first one. Look at some of the places that you can play just using your pinky. That's why I use these instead of doing the full bar chords. That's great if you're strumming, but if you're picking something melodically like this, you don't need to necessarily play the entire chord. You need to have an extra finger so that you can dance around a little bit. All right, so let's back up and play everything up to where we are. We have. After that, I put the pick down on the 4th string, middle finger on the 2nd string, and then pick on the third string. So you have... It's exactly the same pattern that we did with the one chord. So that, if that makes it easier. Once you learn it once, you can just use it over and over again. And then we come to the E7 chord. Now to make this chord, to fret it with your left hand, just think of the C chord, you know, down in first position. You add your pinky here on the 3rd fret, 3rd string. That turns that C chord into a C7. Well, it's that same shape. We're just going to play it up here so that our ring finger and our pinky are on the 7th fret, strings 5 and 3. We're only going to play strings 5, 4, 3, and 2, just the middle 4 strings. Now I could have just played that same picking pattern, but I thought I'd do something a little more fun and introduce a little lead part. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to play notes really out of the chords, and you'll see what I mean, but here's what I played. So we're going to learn that. Now that may sound complicated, but once you understand where these notes are coming from, it's like really easy. It's very intuitive. So when we make that E7 chord, the first thing that's going to happen is string 5, 4, 3, just those 3 strings right out of the chord. And then I come up to 2. And then once I come to 2, I let these fingers come off the fretboard so that I can play this little lead part. My fingers just sort of naturally do that. But that's what we're going to want to do, is we're going to go 5, 6, 7 on the 2nd string. Now some of you may say, well wait, what scale is that? What's that note? Why is that working? All I'm doing is I'm playing the major pentatonic scale for the key of A. So this whole song is in the key of A. So even though there's a lot of chords changing, if you were to solo, you could just play either A minor pentatonic scale and get a bluesy sound, or A major pentatonic scale and get more of a happy sound. So all I'm doing is playing the A major pentatonic scale pattern 2, which is here. Right? And look at where that is in relation to your 1 chord. So these are the 2 notes I was playing, and I just filled in the gap by adding that note. Now that's one trick that you can learn. If anytime you've got 2 notes that are separated, there's a fret in between them, you can just play that fret. Chromatically, you're walking between the 2 notes. So if you were to play that note on its own, it's not going to work. But when you hear it in context, it tells the story of we're going somewhere, and your ear knows where we're going. It's kind of cool. So that's how that works. Now the next thing I played, I went ahead and barred the first 2 strings here on the 5th fret. And you're going to notice as I finish playing this lead, I'm actually building that A chord. So let's go back to the start of from the E7. And then I'm going to play, so that's string 1, there's string 2. Now my bar comes up here and grabs the 3rd string on the 5th fret so that I can play that note. And then I play the middle finger on the 6th fret 3rd string, and then my ring finger goes down on the 7th fret 4th string. And look at what I did. I just built that chord, that same chord we started with. It just sort of happened as I was playing the lead, but in my mind I knew that's where I was going. And I'm just telling you that to think about that when you're playing a lead. If you want a very melodic sounding lead, think about how you can work an actual chord into the lead. So just look at all your little chord shapes up the neck. That's one way to make an A. I could make an A up here and do something around that. And that's where I like to go mentally when I'm soloing. I think it makes your solo sound a lot more professional. Okay, and then the turnaround goes. So that is just coming, I went to minor pentatonic scale and came up here to 8th fret 1st string. Now this is switching to major pentatonic scale. So and I've got a whole lesson on this. I think it's EP 130, going back and forth between the major and minor pentatonic scale. You might want to check that out. But anyway, so it's 8, 7, 5 on the 1st string. And then there's 7th fret 2nd string, 5th fret 2nd string. And again, this is kind of the same technique where I'm going to come down and grab the 3rd string on the 5th fret. And then play the 6th fret 3rd string. and then the 5th fret 2nd string. So let's put it all together. And then to mirror that note, or play it an octave lower, I went ahead and look at what my fingers did. They went ahead and created that E7 chord shape again. Right here. And that's what I did. So, and to pluck that, I'm plucking strings 2 and 3. But while I hit those, I'm picking on the 5th string at the same time. And the pick just goes 1, 2, 3, 4. Very basic. So it goes... Actually, to do 3 of them. Okay, so let's play from the E7 chord to that little turnaround, and that'll conclude this video. So here we go. Actually, I'll play through it one final time. We'll have one final reference. Isn't that fun? You can just see it's easy, and it's just really dancing around the major, minor, pentatonic scale and then working in some of those chord tones. All right, from the beginning. Okay, that's what we have in part 1. I'll see you in part 2, and make sure you download the tablature or check out that on-screen tab viewer if you're struggling with any of these parts. That'll help you be able to identify the part. You can even loop it and slow down the playback and all of that.